Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Chem Insider. So in today's video we'll be discussing about the organic chemistry part of class 11. So in all the previous videos, that is the 4 video lectures of the 4 chapters which I explained, we discussed about the complete basics of chemistry. Now we'll be discussing about the basics of organic chemistry. So that particular chapter is called Some Basic Concepts and Techniques. The chapter name is Some Basic Concepts and Techniques in Organic Chemistry. So, organic chemistry. So, whenever you consider for organic chemistry, they play a very important role in normal day-to-day life. Apart from inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry was completely come to an exercise in the year of 1980, something like that. That is about 200, 400, 200, 300 years ago. So what was initially considered was most of the organic compounds were not synthesized at that particular time. So scientists said that the only reason for organic compounds to be formed in the environment might be some kind of a phenomenon which occurred during the earlier years. Like for example, as we say, dinosaurs get completely removed because of a particular explosion. Similarly, organic compounds were said to be synthesized or formed because of some kind of a natural phenomenon. But that particular theory was completely ruled out by a scientist named Wooler. So, the scientist Wooler in the year 1828 synthesized first organic chemical compound. So he was the first one to synthesize an organic compound in an inorganic laboratory using an inorganic compound. So whenever you consider for a chemistry, we completely say chemistry are of two types: organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. Even though the physical chemistry is something like but the derived mathematical concepts of chemistry, we clearly say chemistry or compounds of chemistry can be divided into inorganic and organic. Inorganic are those compounds which are obtained by non-living matter, and organic compounds are those which are obtained by living matter, like for example plants and animals for organic compounds, and for inorganic compounds they are obtained by minerals, something like that. So therefore, Wooler, he was studying about certain inorganic compound called ammonium cyanate, that is NH4Cl. When he was studying about the ammonium cyanide properties, he come across a particular kind of preparation to form an organic compound called urea, that is NH2CO, NH2. When he was reacting ammonium cyanide with certain substance, he came across a new type of compound called urea with the formula NH2CO, and he said it is an organic compound. This urea usually found in kinds of urine and ammonia based compounds such as fish excretions. Okay, so therefore Wooler considered that as the first organic chemistry compound which was prepared. Later, Kolbe, in the later years, scientist named Kolbe prepared acetic acid by extracting them with an inorganic compound, and Berthollet prepared methane by an inorganic compound in an inorganic laboratory. And so on, most of the scientists later in the years synthesized organic compounds from inorganic also, and with the help of organic and inorganic substance, and also by extraction from certain chemical compounds. So what is this particular use of an organic compound is, organic compounds are quite oftenly found in human body in particular aspects. Like for example, they might be a type of protein in your bloods, muscle cells, etc. Or it might be present in the genetic taking of a genetic information in types of DNA, where you find the nucleic acids in the deoxyribonucleic acid, or you can also consider for the information carrying cells like mRNA, tRNA, etc. So organic compounds for particular of its own selves had majority of vital playable roles in human life and also in any life which is living. Now, for a particular compound of organic chemistry, we clearly define organic chemistry is compounds which are completely depending upon carbon and hydrogen. If you consider for an organic compound, any of the organic compound present in the environment, they usually are made up of either carbon, hydrogen, or it may be used of carbon and oxygen. That means each and every organic compound in the nature usually involves at least one carbon atom in it. So therefore, organic compounds are said to be derivatives of hydrocarbons. That means they are nothing but derived substances which are formed by replacing carbon, hydrogen of a hydrocarbon by different elements or atoms. Therefore, organic chemical compounds are basically called as hydrocarbons. They are basically called as hydrocarbons, that means hydrogen and carbon compounds. If you replace one of the hydrogen or carbon of a given compound, then that particular compound will be a derivative of hydrocarbon, like for example alcohol, acid, aldehyde, ketone, amide, etc. So now when you have to discuss about the basic concepts of organic chemistry, so clearly we have to discuss about the formation of hydrocarbon or some particular properties of hydrocarbon and how are they forming, how is their shape, structure and etc. Okay, so now we'll start with the particular chapter of some basic concepts and techniques in organic chemistry. So first we'll be discussing about how these carbon are going to have certain particular shapes. So shapes of hydrocarbons. The shape of an hydrocarbon. So in order to explain the shape of hydrocarbon, we clearly have studied the complete shapes of a molecule by explaining the chemical bonding in a given molecule. It may be organic or inorganic, right? In the chapter 4, that is of chemical bonding chapter, we discussed multiple theories like valence bond theory, molecular orbital theory, VSEPR theory, etc. to explain the shape of a molecule. In that particular valence bond theory, we discussed about a topic called hybridization, right? We discussed a topic called hybridization where we learned that CH4 molecules has sp3 hybridization, C2H6 molecule, C2H4 molecule had sp2 hybridization, C2H2 molecule had sp hybridization. Okay, we discussed certain examples of carbon compounds having sp3, sp2 and sp type of hybridization. And also we completely observed C2H6 molecule in sp3 hybridization also. So what happens when you treat a molecular hybridization? So if you still haven't understood about this concept, I'll give you the link of that particular video in the description box. You can check that over there. So if you have any doubt regarding the sp3, sp2 and sp hybridization of a carbon with these particular compounds, we can go through that video first and then come back later over to watch this video. So now when you consider for a carbon atom, they undergo three types of hybridization: sp3, sp2 and sp. Now when a substance or a carbon molecule undergoes hybridization, it has a particular S character. So what do you mean by S character? S character is nothing but the percentage of S orbital present in the given hybridized orbital of a given carbon. If you consider this carbon of CH4 molecule, it has certain S orbital present in it, which is undergoing sp3 hybridization. So if you calculate the S character of it, which is nothing but the amount of S orbital present to the ratio of amount of P orbital present. So now if you consider over here, so for every one atom of S character, for every one S orbital, we have 3 P orbitals. So total of 4. If you find out the percentage, 1 out of 4 means, so the compound has 25% of S character. So if a compound undergoes sp3 hybridization, that means that particular compound carries 25% of S character. If you consider for sp2, we have 1 out of 3. So 1 out of 3 orbitals hybridization will be of S. Therefore, the particular percentage of S character will be 33.33%. So we can complete a unit of 33.3% of S character in sp2 hybridization. Now if you consider for sp hybridization, So it has 50%. So 1 out of 2 sp hybrid orbitals, we have one completely having an s character. So if we consider these molecules undergoing certain hybridization, they have particular value of s character. So what do you mean by this? What is the use of this s character? Whenever you consider a nucleus of an atom, if you consider this as a nucleus, what we say is s orbitals are the one which are closest for a particular shell, right? If you consider the K shell, it has just one s orbital, so it will be nearer to the nucleus. If you consider for L shell, it has an s orbital and a p orbital, but out of the 2s and 2p orbital, 2s will be the closest one when compared to 2p. Similarly, if you consider for M shells orbitals spd, out of the spd, s orbital will be the closest out of spd. So similarly, what we can say is, whenever you consider the number of orbitals present in a shell, the s orbital will be the closest one. So if an orbital is closer to a nucleus, that means it has more electronegative character. That is because the orbital which is close to the nucleus will be having a stronger pull of electron towards the nucleus. If an electron is present on s orbital, nucleus will be having a strong force of attraction on that particular s orbital. Therefore, more the s character, more the electronegative character of that particular molecule. Okay, if the molecule has greater s character, then that particular molecule is said to be electronegative in nature. So, since we know the s character of C2H6, C2HCH4 or C2H4 or C2H2, we can clearly say that C2H2 has higher s character, therefore it is clearly a more electronegative molecule when compared to C2H4, CH4 or C2H6. That is, if a molecule has sp hybridization, then that molecule will be more electronegative when compared to the molecule having sp2 or sp3 hybridization. Further, what we can say is, this particular hybridization also explains the bond length and bond enthalpy, right? So more the s character, less will be the bond length. So s character is inversely proportional to bond length. S character is inversely proportional to bond length, but it is directly proportional to bond order. It is directly proportional to bond order, and which is directly proportional to bond enthalpy. So clearly we can say that if a molecule has more s character, it has a higher bond order and has a higher bond enthalpy. If a molecule has s character in higher order, then it has a bond length very low. For a given molecule with the highest s character, it has high bond order and bond enthalpy, but its bond length will be low. So if we consider for these molecules itself, bond length of C2H2 molecule is 121 picometer, C2H4 is 139 picometer, CH4 is 154 picometer. So clearly we can say that bond length of C2H4 is less, C2H2 is less, C2H4 is quite high, CH4 is very much higher. Okay, so this is about the shape of hydrocarbons. So clearly hydrocarbons will be of three types of hybridization: sp3, sp2, sp. Now for the particular shape, if a molecule undergoes sp3 hybridization, we know the shape of that particular molecule, that is tetrahedral. If it undergoes sp2 hybridization, it forms trigonal planar, so therefore the molecule will be planar in geometry. If the molecule is undergoing sp hybridization, that means the molecule will be planar and further it will be linear in nature. Okay, so these are the shape of hydrocarbons. There is only three types of shapes of hydrocarbons possible: tetrahedral, trigonal planar, and a linear. So usually this trigonal planar is considered as a planar geometry, because for a formation of trigonal planar we require two carbon atoms. Two trigonal planars will be in the same plane to form the molecule. Okay. Next is the pi bond formation. So this sp3, sp2, sp hybridization clearly explains the sigma bond formation leading to particular geometry. But what if a molecule has sp2 and sp hybridization which involves a pi bond formation? So if you have to consider for the pi bond in a molecule, so what happens is, if you say sp2 hybridization, we said we'll be forming 3 sp2 hybrid orbital, right? If you consider for this carbon atom which undergoes sp2 hybridization to form 3 sp2 hybrid orbitals. Now if I write the sp2 orbitals of this particular carbon, so this will be the first one, positive one, smaller on the other side. So one more which will be in this direction, and there will be one more which will be present in this direction. Okay. So now if you consider for the geometry, those molecules will be looking like this. Okay. If you consider for this, okay, this is the one on the top side, on the bottom, and on the straight one. So this is an sp2 hybridized carbon. Now when you consider for this, if you take it in a planar geometry, all these three molecules or atoms will be in the same plane. Okay. So even though these are completely bent shape, so what is this? It is a planar geometry. So if you consider for this three planar molecule, one of the orbital which is unoccupied, since we know that carbon has 1s2, 2s1, 2p3 in the excited state, one of the orbital will be empty, that is nothing but the paired up electrons present, where 2 electrons present over here will be undergoing sp2 hybridization. Okay, so one of the orbital will be of empty orbital 2pz. Let us consider 2pz orbital which is empty. So that 2pz orbital will be present perpendicular to the plane of the molecule. So that will be perpendicular in this direction. So if you consider a molecule, so if this is a carbon atom, so it has 3 atoms in this plane. This is the carbon atom. One bond is this in plane, one bond is this in plane, and one bond is in that plane. So if these 3 bonds are in one plane of sp2 hybridization forming a trigonal planar, one particular p orbital will be in a perpendicular plane when compared to the molecular carbon. So if these 3 orbitals are in one plane, there will be one p orbital, that is an unhybridized p orbital, which will be perpendicular to the plane of the molecule. Similarly, there will be one more carbon with one perpendicular orbital in this direction. So those two interact with one another sideways. Those two interact with one another sideways to form a new type of bond called the pi bond, which we have discussed in the chemical bond chapter. So now when you consider for the particular molecule, if we say these are the 2 bonds, these are the 2 bonds for this carbon, it is having just one bond in present over here. Now an orbital, empty p orbital which is present above and below, okay, that orbital will be sharing an electron by sideways overlapping. So they share an electron by sideways overlapping, leading to the formation of pi bond. That pi bond will be formed between this carbon and this carbon, leading to a geometry which is non-planar to one another. So now if you consider over here, these carbon atoms are all in one plane. Instead of just being a bond between these 2 carbon, so we clearly observe 2 bonds, right? So out of these 2, one is a sigma bond, one is a pi bond. Okay, one is a sigma bond and one will be a pi bond. That is because the formation of 2 pi orbitals which are parallel to one another but perpendicular to the molecule. So they will be in this particular direction, but the molecule is in particular this plane. So therefore they are perpendicular to the plane but parallel to one another. They involve in sideways overlapping, resulting in the formation of pi bond. Since there is a formation of pi bond in the molecule, it somewhat alters the geometry of the C2H2 molecule. Therefore, what we observe is, C2H4 molecule, what we observe is, if a molecule of carbon has pi bond, then it is said to be more reactive. So whenever a molecule has pi bonds present in it, then it is said to be more reactive. That is, more the pi bonds present, more will be the reactivity of the given hydrocarbon. Okay, so this is about the introduction and shape of hydrocarbons which we usually observe in organic compounds. I hope you have understood these concepts. If you have any doubt, please do subscribe to my channel and comment down those doubts below. And further, if you have any need to be having any clarification, you can mail those doubts to me in my mail ID which I have provided in the description box. Thank you for watching.